Notre Dame got a really, really exciting offensive line commitment. And there's going to be a couple things that we're going to do here, right? We are going to start by kind of walking through his backstory, and we're going to talk through how we got to this point. Then we're going to kind of run through what's the class impact for 2026 and what's the outlook going to start looking like for this class. We're going to dive into some of his film, which I'm really excited about. When you posted that intel piece on the message boards, I started to dive into Tyler Merrill's film, loved a lot of what I saw. And then we're going to kind of wrap it all up and tie it in a bow and talk about just what's next from here. So, Bryan, Tyler Merrill commits. Let's give us a backstory, man.
Man, you missed out on the perfect intro. Notre Dame landed a massive commitment in Tyler Merrill, literally and figuratively. This is a big boy. This is a ginormous young man. Think about this for a second, Trevor. Ben Nichols is committed to Notre Dame. He's 6'6", 320. He is not their biggest offensive line commitment now. It is now Tyler Merrill. This is a 6'5" plus 330-pound young man. Notre Dame's been on him for a while, Trevor. This is a guy that got offered very early in the process. He's had a Notre Dame offer for a while. Notre Dame's been recruiting him for quite some time. He's made multiple visits to campus, but he had really good relationships with a lot of different staffs. And the thing that made it a little bit challenging was, you're having a heck of a year as a football team, but one of his other top schools, if not his next top school, was having a heck of a season too in Penn State. He's a Pennsylvania kid. Played at Cumberland Valley in Pennsylvania, which is a pretty good football program for those who are familiar with that state of Pennsylvania. He's a kid that's from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And so you're talking about his top contenders. A lot of them were having really good seasons. He also, if you look at like the top five and how it came to be, Notre Dame and Penn State were part of that. The rest of his top five was Alabama, Clemson, and Wisconsin. And when you've got a kid from Pennsylvania that Alabama's making a hard run at and Clemson's making a hard run at, you got a pretty good football player. And Notre Dame got on him early, which they needed to do. It was smart. Joe Rudolph did a good job building the relationship with Tyler Merrill. The rest of the staff did a good job of building the relationship with Tyler Merrill and using the season to stay in contact, get him on campus. And then they brought him in again. And the rumors were that he was starting to go into decision-making mode, but wasn't necessarily quite ready to pull the trigger. Penn State people thought that Tyler Merrill was going to go through the process and take his official visits and stuff like that. But when he got on campus, the staff did a great job of he was with Ben Nichols and Sullivan Garvin the entire time and just really selling the vision for him. And then also there's some other kids on the board that people thought might be close to popping, and they're only going to take one more interior guy. And I think Tyler Merrill just like, look, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to play, and I'm ready. And he made that decision. So he actually committed to Notre Dame during junior day. So we actually got word. Nick Kramer texted me, I think that afternoon, and he was like, hey, Tyler Merrill committed, just so you know. And, we had been told that by the parent of one of the other recruits that was on campus. So then I reached out to my sources, and we talked, and they were like, yeah, he popped, but hey, let's let him break that news, which we always do anyway. So this was a done deal. So I had people text me like, hey, so-and-so nationally is saying that, they think Notre Dame might have a shot to get him when he commits tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I think so too. Yeah, sure. So that's how this one kind of came to be, Trev. Real big pickup, but it was one of those ones where it was a journey. It was a grind. He liked Notre Dame a ton early on, but they weren't the only team he liked a ton early on. He liked Penn State a lot. He liked Alabama a lot. I think Clemson then made a really hard charge with Matt Luke, who's an outstanding recruiter, which is why Marcus Freeman tried to hire Matt Luke at Notre Dame, because he's a heck of an offensive line coach and a heck of a recruiter. And so Joe Rudolph had to play the long game with Tyler Merrill, and they did. And in the end of the day, they won it and got a big-time pickup. They got a big pickup, Trev, literally and figuratively. So this is a good pickup. Very, very strong pickup for Notre Dame. And when I found out about on Saturday, Nick was like, hey, can I do the dancing gif? And I was like, bro, based on the intel piece I'm going to put out, if we do the dancing gif, then people are going to kind of have an idea. And I expected Tyler was going to put out something the next couple of days about, hey, I'm going to announce my commitment. And then he dropped the top five. And I was like, dude, people are going to they're going to know we're talking about him. And so let's not do it. But, but Nick was fired up to when he got told that. I was fired up when he told us that. So this is a big time pickup. It's a and it's not just you beat out Penn State, you beat out Bama, you beat out Clemson, but you landed an outstanding football player with loads of potential. And that makes it a huge pickup for the Irish.
I was really excited. You texted me about that too. I think we might have been on the phone, but we were talking about it, and it was after I had watched his film after you put out that intel piece. And man, there was a lot of exciting stuff to watch on there. And I know we're going to dive into the film here soon, but next we're going to kind of talk through the class impact, right? And Notre Dame's 2026 recruiting class is starting to shape and take form, and he is now the third offensive lineman in that commitment. Because there's Sullivan Garvin.
7th overall commit, 3rd offensive lineman.
Okay.
5th offensive player.
That's massive.
Yeah, because they got 2 defensive players, Thomas Davis and Chasten Smith, cornerback, linebacker. And then they've obviously got Noah Grubbs, Dylan Faison, and now 3 offensive linemen. So that's 5 offensive players. 3rd offensive lineman, and they're all Northern kids. And Notre Dame's got to dominate Northern recruiting when they want them. Now, for the 4th offensive lineman, there's some Southern kids that I'd like to see them as the 4th guy. But when there's dudes up north, you got to get those dudes. So you went into Penn State's backyard and got him, and you went into Michigan's backyard and got Ben Nichols and Sullivan Garvin. And that's big, very big for Notre Dame.
So when you start breaking down the rest of what this class looks like, I know you said 7 offensive players already. And again, this is more of a legitimate open question that I have. But when you're building out this class, I know some of it depends on what happens in the 2024 class as well. But moving forward, offensive targets for Notre Dame, does it depend now? Like, are they going to continue hammering offensive side this hard? Or?
For sure. So when you look at the offensive line first, the way that they were looking to build this class is they had early on said 3, but that went up to 4 pretty quickly just because of how many good players they have on the board. Yeah. Tyler Merrill being one. And also because of some expected departures. And like Rocco leaving doesn't impact this, Pat Coogan leaving, because they were gone. They were going to be gone by the time Tyler Merrill in this class showed up anyway. Their eligibility is going to be over. But obviously like a Ty Chan, and you look at, Sam Pendleton and potential of, some injuries and things like that. They quickly, properly moved up to 4. But the focus for the staff was, and part of this I agree with and part of it I don't, is they wanted to load up on interior guys. Now, I personally don't love recruiting pure interior guys. I like recruiting guys that are tackles that can play guard, because tackles can move inside. Usually don't see interior guys that can move outside. These guys are all tackles in high school, but they all project as interior guys. But they really wanted to load up with interior guys, and they wanted at least 2, if not 3 interior guys, and you've got that. So what Tyler gives you is a 3rd interior player. He could play right tackle, I think, with some body reshaping down the road. I think him or maybe Ben Nichols could maybe be like a right tackle with down the road. But right now they're projected more as interior guys. All 3 of them are projected as interior guys. Maybe Sullivan Garvin could play some tackle if he is, some body reshaping. But that's a big thing. And then the other thing they wanted to do is they wanted size. Now, that's something that Coach Heastan started when he came back, and that's something that Joe Rudolph has continued since he's arrived, is Notre Dame is trying to get big up front. Now, not big and slow, but big and guys that can move, because they want to be able to go 11 personnel and run inside zone and run duo and just punish and bully people and then throw perimeter and all that kind of stuff. Well, to do that, you need talented players, but you ideally want bigger guys. That's how a lot of the Southern offensive line gets built. Penn State has that kind of offensive line. We're just a bunch of 315 plus 320-pound guys. And so clearly focusing on size. Sullivan Garvin is 6'5" and listed at 300 pounds. He is 20 pounds lighter listed weight-wise than the other 2 kids they now have committed. So when you talk about class impact, he gives you 3 out of minimum 4. I think they could get to 5 with the right guys. I think they would go to 5, like if Felix OG committed and Kenny Agbuka committed, I think they take both of them. There's a couple other guys like that. There's some tackles on the board. I think they would get to 5 if it was the right 5. 4's the desired number. You're now sitting here January 30th, and now publicly you have 3 guys committed. So you're getting close to finishing your needs. You wanted interior players. He gives you another big physical dominant interior player. You wanted to add more size, and he certainly does that. You're now adding, you already had a 6'5", 300-pounder in Garvin. You had a 6'5", 6'6", 320-pound guy in Ben Nichols. Now you're getting a guy that's listed between 6'5" and 6'7". I think he's closer to 6'5", 6'6", 330 pounds. So you've really checked all the boxes, and Joe Rudolph has made a very concerted effort, like Harry Heastand did, of really trying to load up on as many northern linemen as possible. Doesn't mean you avoid the South. Anthony Knapp's from the South. But Notre Dame's got to dominate when there's basically, you look at the state of Tennessee and Virginia up, and you've got to fill up a lot of your roster with those type of guys. Coach Heastand believed in that, and Coach Rudolph is showing that he believes in that as well. You got 2 kids from Michigan and now Tyler Merrill from Indiana. And what's different about these guys and a lot of northern linemen is you don't often get as much size from the northern linemen. These guys are massive. And so really you're checking all the boxes from a class impact standpoint, Trev. Numbers, check. Interior, check. Size, check. Power, check. And the other part of it too is from a perception standpoint, this is also huge. Because you're talking about a kid that's ranked as one of the top offensive players in the top players in the country. Forget just offensive players, but he's ranked as the number 57 overall player in the country according to ESPN. He's ranked number 73 overall by On3, and he's ranked number 84 overall by Rivals. Shocker, 247 has him outside the top 100. Shocker, but they're garbage rankings. But these are now 3 of the 4 services rank him as a top 100 player. I rank him as a top 100 player as well with 5-star upside. He's that kind of guy. There's things he's got to work on and all that. That's why he's not a 5-star guy now, but the upside is absolutely there. This is a top 100 football player. He now becomes your highest ranked recruit by On3, ESPN, and I think also Rivals. Rivals I'm not 100% certain of. Let me go actually check that real quick. It may be, but I know he's your highest ranked guy now on On3, and I know he's your highest ranked guy on ESPN. I'm just going to check Rivals here real quick and see. I think he also is on Rivals. Yes, he also is their highest ranked guy on Rivals. Noah Grubbs is right behind him. He's 84 on Rivals, and Noah Grubbs is 93 because right now I think Rivals is the only outlet that properly grades Noah Grubbs as a top 100 player, which he is. So this is a big pickup, really, Trevor. I mean, it's one of those ones, and you don't often have this where it literally checks every single box. Practical, it checks all the boxes, but then also perception-wise, right? Like when Notre Dame landed Will Black last year, we loved his upside. He had a lot to work on, but he wasn't yet that 5-star player he became. So it didn't have quite the splash. This one, to me, is a splash pickup on top of the actual talent of the player. Perception matters, dude. It does. I mean, we've said this before. Ryan and I used to talk about this all the time. It's the expression, dogs want to play with other dogs, man. I mean, in football, more than any other sport, I want to go somewhere where I'm going to have other dudes around me. I don't want to have to carry everybody, and I want to have other dudes around me. And when you're landing a guy like this, like, okay, top 100 offensive lineman, Notre Dame just keeps on rolling. That stuff matters a ton. And that's what makes this a really big pickup. So there's nothing about this pickup I don't like, or I'm like, well, I don't know. It's top 100 kid, Pennsylvania kid, beat Penn State, Alabama, and Clemson, right, for him. Fits the position you're looking for, adds the specific skills you're looking to add. It's a big pickup all around, man. And as we jump into the film, you'll see what we're talking about. And there's some areas that you'll also see in film why I don't have him as a 5-star yet, and why I don't have him as a top 50 player yet. But we'll find out. You'll see the talent that makes him a top 100 guy, but then saying if he can improve a little bit here and improve a little bit there, this guy could be a dude. And you'll see that as well. So, yeah. But when you go into Penn State's backyard, who's a team that was in the Final Four this year, team that played for the Big Ten title, a team that a lot of people are ranking ahead of you in the preseason rankings for next year, and you beat them for a guy that they wanted bad and that they thought they were going to get for a long time, that's big. I didn't think that. I felt Notre Dame was in a good place with Tyler Merrill for a while. And I have a buddy of mine who he reads all the – he doesn't – other than our board, he doesn't spend a lot of time on Notre Dame boards. He's always checking out other boards, and he'd always call me panicking, like, man, like, why are you, man, I'm worried. I love this Merrill kid, but I think Penn State's going to get him. Well, what makes you think that, buddy? Well, the Penn State, I was like, okay, well, they think they're going to get everybody. I'm telling you, I think Notre Dame's in a good place here. Long way to go. And Penn State's a player, but I like where Notre Dame is at. But the perception publicly was more of, yeah, Notre Dame's in a good place, but Penn State is the perceived team to beat by some people. I didn't feel it that way. I thought Joe Rudolph did a great job of putting them number one, maintaining it, and then at the very end, closing the deal. And that makes it really, really, really good pickup.
It sounds like a good recruiting process from start to finish, and they fought to fend off some other really high caliber destinations for where Tyler Merrill could have went. And on top of it all, the kid's 6'6", 330 pounds. I mean, that's just, and it took me a second to realize, because I was like, oh man, he's going to be a great addition in the fall, but he still has one more year of high school to go through, another year of refinement, another year. I mean, it's just everything about it is really, really exciting. So I don't know about you, Bryan. I'm ready to jump into the film because I had a lot of fun watching him and what he did his junior year of high school. So we're getting ready to pull that up. But the first thing that you'll notice on film is he is a massive person. You're muted.
Yep, I know.
Yep. Oh.
I'm going to get this on the full screen here so you can see more of him and less of us. But like you said, Trevor, the first thing you're going to notice about him on film is he's really big. And the second thing you're going to notice about him on film is he's powerful. So as we said, he plays left tackle in high school. I think I've seen a couple clips of him at right tackle. I could be confusing that with Gregory Patrick. I know he's done that. But you're going to see a guy that is all about, there's things I don't love about this clip, like bend your knees a little bit more and step. Yeah. But, good night. It annihilates that poor kid. And here he's blocking a kick, which I love. We'll just play that once. He gets so excited about this, but we'll get back to the offensive line stuff here in a second. Look at him. I blocked the freaking kick. I touched the football. Yes. It's the only time an offensive lineman can touch a football, and it's not considered a bad thing. All right, see him at left tackle again, but you're going to see a kid that's powerful, just extremely, there's throwing your weight around, and then there's having a great punch. What you're seeing from these first two clips is not that he's throwing his 330-pound weight around. It's he's got a great punch. He's got very heavy hands. Right? You see big boxers that aren't knockout guys because they don't have those real heavy hands. You'll see big offensive linemen that need their weight to move people around because they don't have really heavy hands or really a lot of explosiveness. He's got that. He's got heavy hands. He's very explosive as far as from a power standpoint, not from an athletic standpoint, but from a power standpoint. And you just see him constantly just maul people. And that's the first thing you notice. Now, you also seeing on some of these clips areas where you see he's not a tackle right now. Mm-hmm. He can be a little heavy-footed at times. I do think some body shaping is needed, but that's needed for most 17-year-old linemen. And he's going to have to work on being a little bit more assertive coming out of his stance, right? You see he hunts for people a lot. Let me find a guy. I want to see him come off with more speed and urgency. He doesn't come off this slow, Trevor, because he is this slow. He comes off this slow because he's looking for somebody to hit. Yeah. And I want to see him come off with a little bit more urgency, a little bit more push. And what's going to help him is when he gets to college and he's just naturally playing more explosive athletes, it's going to force him to be more that way. But, there's some things technically he's going to have to work on. And he's not a great change of direction guy, which is, again, why I don't see him as a tackle. I think that's why I think he's an interior guy. He's going to be much better in tight windows than he will be. This guy wants no part of this pull, Trevor. He's like, nope, you can score for all I care. I value my life way too much. I got a date tonight. I am not about to get lit up, put in the hospital by this kid. That kid no moss to that one big time. And that's what they score. But he's that kind of guy. He's that kind of – I'm not saying he's as good as Quentin Nelson. I'm not saying that. But Quentin Nelson just had that demeanor, that disposition. But Quentin was also 340 pounds at Notre Dame, where it's just was like, dude, I'm tired of getting hit by this guy. Yeah. I'm seriously tired of getting hit by this guy. And Tyler's got some of that to him where he just look at this kid's knees buckle. I mean, this is just – is that Pine Richland? This kid's knees just kind of give out when he hits them. And, decent feet in space here, but again, not tackle footwork. But he's a guy that you don't want changing direction a whole lot. But those heavy hands that he's so wide, you talk about pass where he's really wide, you got to run around him to get there. This is a decent quickness, but he won't be asked to do this kind of stuff as a tackle.
Right.
But he's a guy that is he's not an elite athlete, but he doesn't have to be at 6'6", 330 pounds.
Right. Right.
And you see that.
The first thing that I noticed in his film is one of the first questions that I had for Bryan once I knew that we were going to talk about him in today's show was if he projected as an interior lineman, because he plays left tackle in high school, but you could tell a lot of his tendencies, a lot of his characteristics as a high school left tackle do project to the inside. Like his foot quickness is not great out in space. He kind of lets people get like up inside him, like tackles like Will Black and like what Joe Alt's film was. It's a lot of length, a lot of arm extension there, but on the inside, this kid's going to be an absolute mauler.
Yeah. And like here, this isn't great change of direction, but it's also partly a footwork problem. He's a little late getting to it, but it's actually not bad. Like that last plant, so the guy beats him inside, but that last plant and redirect inside, that projects really well to guard. And he'll look much better in that regard. So some of this stuff you're seeing where he's a little heavy-footed is, I think, more of as much of a technical issue as it is him just not being very agile.
Yeah.
Because there are clips where you do see him come off and just bulldoze people. And you see that kind of power. You see him like here. This is one where you talk about, Trev, you talk about letting people get up into him. He catches here. Yeah. He's not delivering punishment on this guy. He's catching, right? But then look what he does after he recovers and starts driving his feet, right? This is like, if I'm teaching him, I'm not liking this early on. Like up to right now, I don't like it. But then that happens. And that's where that power, that physicality just becomes a major force. So like there's actually a lot of technical improvement this kid can make using his hands better. This is not a bad kick slide right here. This isn't bad at all. Decent foot quickness there. A lot of technical improvement needed to be made, which is something I like. I don't want a guy he's a finished product, because then he's not going to get much better. Right. There's a lot of room for this kid to get better, and he's already pretty good and powerful. And as he starts to play with more tempo, more urgency, more force, he's going to be even more effective. This is one where when I first watched it, I was like, dude, okay, now that's the kind of kick slide I'm talking about. I'm like, nope, that's not him. That guy's way too small. He's inside of that guy. So he was playing guard here. But I had that instance of, okay, that's what I'm talking about. And you're like, nope, not him. This is a guy he's going against a bigger kid, though, here. You can kind of tell. That kid's kind of close to him in size. He anchors really well there. This is what he'll do well at guard.
Yeah.
That I'm a big physical guy. You're going to have to go around me, but you're not going to be able to go around me. I'm going to stone you with my physicality. And as his footwork improves, Trev, he's just going to bully people.
Yeah.
He really is. What I think I'm going to do after we're done with this one, Trevor, I think I'm going to pull up Ben Nichols' film too for a minute.
Yeah.
And just so people can get a sense of what the last two, because we did watch film with Sullivan Garvin, I believe, when he committed. Mm-hmm. But I just want to kind of watch a little bit of Tyler Merrill and Ben Nichols back to back and just kind of show you guys what kind of – it's not a coincidence. I mean, part of it is, okay, yeah, it's nice that you got big guys from up north and that is not always there, but there's a reason those two guys were targeted so quickly by the Notre Dame staff, because they are looking to add a lot more beef to the offensive line. But yeah, this is a massive young man. Like that's not bad. That's not bad athletic. That's not bad quickness at the second level.
Yeah.
It's not bad. That's not bad. And he's going to just lay some linebackers out. Some guys are going to try to take him on in space, and he's going to destroy him. You know that.
Yeah, I feel bad for whoever comes across him on a counter. That's going to be an unfortunate situation for whoever tries to take that on.
So love the size, Trev. Love the physicality. Love the hand strength. Love the potential. He'll just, need to fill out. But he's got that kind of size where he can overcome a lot of mistakes because of how big and strong he is, which is a guy that if you need somebody to step in early, he is a guy that has a chance to do that, especially if he has a good offseason from a strength conditioning standpoint. But you see a lot of a lot of guys get in him and they're thinking, okay, I'm gonna drive him back, and they can't. He's just kind of that guy that you're just not going to rock him back unless he makes a mistake. The only way you're rocking him back is if he doesn't have a good base.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the technical effectiveness on a particular play. I liked this one. This is another one where you see a little bit of this, where you see a little bit like as a guard, that's really good for a guard. Like this is good change of direction for a guard, a 330-pound guard. No, I don't want that at my left tackle, but for a guard, this is okay. That's where you want to be. And I like too here, he strikes that guy, but he keeps working towards him. He just doesn't throw him, and that he keeps working towards that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that footwork, not foot quickness, but just that he doesn't stop working. That's another thing I like about him that you see, Trev, is he doesn't hit and stop his feet as much as a lot of young linemen at times. But you can tell he understands the need, and so does Ben Nichols. He understands the need to hit and drive. Keep working those feet. Keep working those feet. Keep working those feet. And he's 16, 17? He hasn't hit a college weight room yet. Yeah. He hasn't hit a college strength conditioning program yet. Like this is what you're looking for.
That's the thing I have to keep reminding myself is like he still has another year of high school to go through and refine what he's been doing already. So
Yeah, this isn't even a kid coming to Notre Dame. So, yeah, there's a lot to like there, Trev. A lot to like there.
Good Lord.
So, what I want to do next is I want to actually bring up Ben Nichols' film, and we'll just watch a few clips of Ben Nichols. He was their most recent commit before Tyler Merrill, and he's a 6'6", 320-pound kid, and you're going to see a very similar style of play. You can tell that this is something that Mike Denbrock likes, and so does Joe Rudolph, is they want those big movers. If you're going to run inside zone and duo, you want linemen that can move people and blow people up and blow people off the ball, and that's what Notre Dame is adding. So let's bring up a little bit of Ben Nichols. We'll just watch a couple minutes of his highlights and just to get a sense of what Notre Dame is adding. I actually think Ben moves a little bit better than Tyler.
I was just about to say, I think he's a little quicker off the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Tyler's got a little bit more power, but like that is a level of like where I could say if one of those guys is needed to play right tackle right now, it'd probably be Ben.
Yeah.
But you're going to see another young man that's big, massive, physical. You see that quickness off the ball? Mm-hmm. Like Tyler doesn't come off the ball that quickly because I don't think he is taught to come off the ball that quickly. Where Ben comes off the ball and you see that, bam, I'm driving my feet. I'm coming off with urgency and speed. That's what I mean by urgency. It's not that Tyler can't do that, but he doesn't step in a way that allows him to do that. That's something that's fixable.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like when Tyler starts coming off the line with the same technique, I don't know who Ben Nichols' offensive line coach is in high school. That guy's a good football coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like this kid's taught, and you can see the rest of the line. This guy comes from a good background, and you see the talent. When Tyler Merrill starts getting coached up the way that Ben Nichols is, look at that low pad level, drives that guy into the ground. Like, you're going to see it like, okay, that's a dude.
Yeah.
That is a dude. And so you see, but Ben already plays with that type of speed and urgency. Tyler's got to learn to play that way. But what you see from both of them, Trevor, is massive, physical, mean. Mm-hmm. They want to punish people. And Sullivan Garbin's very similar. He's just not quite as big as those other guys. But look, this is what I love about it. Like, look at that. Now, again, technically, that's not good. Come to the upfield shoulder, do a better job there. But you see his ability to readjust and shift. If there's a time down the road where these are your two starting guards, you're going to be really flipping good at running the football.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there may come a time down the road where you're starting Will Black at tackle at 6'7", he'll be 320. Gerby Lambert, who will be 6'7", 330 at right tackle. You'll be starting 6'6", 330-pound Tyler Merrill, 6'6", 320-pound Ben Nichols as your guards and tackles. That's not an accident.
No.
That's not intentional. A little tight-hipped, as you can see here. little stiff hips, but keeps the knees bent, works, and drills somebody. So this is obviously Ben Nichols' film. For those who may just be joining us, we already looked at Tyler Merrill's film, but we're trying to show that Notre Dame made a very concerted effort to get bigger and more physical with who they're recruiting on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And Sullivan Garvin is a physical kid too. He's the one I have the most question marks about the athleticism right now, the foot quickness right now, and he's also not coached overly well technically. But you see what I'm talking about here, Trev. This is a big physical kid.
Yeah.
Like just a massive kid. So when you and here's the thing, he's not your biggest offensive lineman right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, pretty exciting times. So that we'll just last clip here. I want to get to one more just where he just crushes somebody. He's got another play coming up here where he crushes somebody too. But I love the disposition from these guys, right? I mean, it's just like, okay, man, these guys really like to punish people. And that's something that I like. What are you going to learn from him going again? That kid's playing DB. There we go. Look at that, working up to the second level.
Lord.
Working that combo, boom, 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 drive those feet, take the guy in the end zone, put him on the ground. So as we see, Trev, Notre Dame got a lot bigger and a lot more physical with the offensive line class that they're putting together in the 2026 group. And I think Ben Nichols is actually underrated. I think Ben Nichols should be ranked somewhere close to where Tyler Merrill is. I really like Ben Nichols a lot. I mean, he's ranked okay. I mean, he's not like I don't think anyone has him as a 3-star, but I think he should be ranked a lot closer to being a top 100 guy than he is. I'm actually pulling up his rankings now because I know they've made some upgrades, but like Rivals has him. Let's see where Rivals has Ben Nichols ranked number 243. 247 has him as a 3-star. Shocker. ESPN has him as a 234. I have to pull up where On3. On3 has made their rankings. Now you can't go to a guy's page and see his ranking. You have to be a member. Just so lame. I'm not joining your site. But you can look and see. You can look at the classes. So I'm going to see if Ben Nichols is in there. I don't know where they rank him. They usually tend to like offensive linemen, and they're the outlet. Like everybody talks about, On3 has a bias towards Notre Dame players. I've said this before. I don't think they do. I just think they get rankings wrong. They have ranked a Notre Dame offensive lineman as a 5-star in each of the last 3 years, with Will Black as the number 4 overall player in the country, according to them. So they have Ben Nichols number 209. So, I mean, I'd have him closer to 100, but these are still two guys that are ranked as highly ranked guys. Love the pickups, but your last 2 pickups are absolute monsters, the offensive line and Tyler Merrill. And so what's next for them on the offensive line, Trev? It's tackles. And this is where it's going to get real interesting for Gregory Patrick, because I know the staff likes him a lot. But I don't know that you can bring a 4th guy that projects as an inside guy into this class. That's going to be tough. And if you do, you definitely have to go to 5 because you have to bring in a pure tackle. You can maybe say, okay, maybe they could say, okay, Ben Nichols will be our right tackle. Maybe Gregory Patrick could play tackle. I think he's more of an interior guy. You know, Merrill and Sully are, I think, more pure guards. Maybe Garvin, if he gets better coaching, could have the footwork to play at tackle. But they're all guys are questionable tackles. I don't think you could bring in 4 questionable tackles in one class. That would be a bit concerning. But Gregory Patrick is also a really good football player, and they may just decide we can't afford to pass on a guy like that. I mean, that's what they could decide. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him specifically. But outside of him, and I know some of the networks rank him as a tackle, but the staff hasn't viewed him as a tackle. They've always viewed him as a guy that's more of an interior guy, maybe a center or guard. Even though the networks or the recruiting services all list him as a tackle, Notre Dame hasn't viewed him as a tackle. Maybe they change that and try to get him to be a tackle, like an Anthony Knapp type of tackle. Maybe that's going to be interesting how they treat that, because he's a talented football player and a good football player as well. But they're also now, as you see from the recruiting trips this week, they're getting out and seeing more pure tackles. You know, obviously they offered Evan Goodwin during his visit last weekend from Arkansas. He's 6'7", 320. He's a tackle. They just went and saw Kenny Agboko today. He's I saw a picture that got put on Twitter today of him standing next to Al Washington, and he makes Al Washington look really small. Just tall, broad shoulder, big head, big feet, big hands. Like he's going to be 320 pounds when it's all said and done as well. They're on him. They just offered Felix Ojo the other day, who's an offensive tackle. There's some other offensive tackles they're in on. They're now focusing more primarily on pure tackles. I could see them going to 5 in this class, Trevor. I do. Especially with the success the season had, I think that they've got a shot to maybe land 2 studs down the road. So I think they'll be open to a 5th, depending on who that next commitment is. But the guy that I'm really curious about is going to be how they handle the Gregory Patrick recruitment now moving forward. Now that Tyler Merrill is officially in the class, do they reshift Ben Nichols or Gregory Patrick to being a tackle and then bring in a 5th guy that's more of a pure tackle? I could see that if they feel like Gregory Patrick's just too good to pass up. But you're not going to be able to bring in 4 guys that you project as interior guys in one class. That's bad. That's bad roster building. They have to think that one of the guys that are there now or Patrick can be a tackle. They'd have to kind of reshift the focus. I'd probably try Nichols at right tackle or Patrick at right tackle is what I would probably do, and have Garvin and Merrill be more inside guys. Maybe Sullivan. I think I kind of like Garvin too as a potential center. He reminds me a lot of like a Pat Coogan type of center, but he's a little bit more athletic than Pat was. He's got to clean up some footwork. But I could see Sullivan Garvin being a 6'5", 315, 320-pound center. And then Merrill and Nichols flanking him at guard. It's a big freaking interior of your offensive line down the road. Because Garvin's your small guy at 6'5", 300. I've seen others list him at 305. That's your small guy in this class. It's pretty wild.
It's awesome to see the team just like the offensive line just building around that identity that you were talking about, just being big, long, athletic, mean maulers. Not saying that it's been lacking from Notre Dame over the back. I mean, they're O-line U for a reason, right?
They have maulers, but their maulers have been like 305, 310. They haven't had a lot of the Aaron Banks, the Alex Bars. Like, remember that 17 offensive line? Sam Mustipher wasn't huge. He was like 305. McGlinchey was like 315. And then obviously you had Kramer was 315, 320. Hainsey was 290. But your guards were 6'6", 320 and 6'5", 335, 340. You could just, like, I remember the play against USC in 2015 or 2017. I'm actually going to try to pull this up because it's my YouTube channel, so I could actually play this clip. But there was a play that Alex Bars had in 2017. So I actually, his dad had asked me to make him a highlight tape, and from the 2017 season. And so I did, and there was a play on there that was just like, it just shows you how good this offensive line is. So I'm actually going to pull that up and show that. I think I can show that. Let me see here. I don't think YouTube will not let me do it. They may. YouTube gets kind of funky sometimes. But let's see if this will come up. There we go. All right. So watch this play by Alex Bars. No, that's not it. That's against let's go back. It's back a little bit. Here we go. Watch this block by Alex Bars. This comes from, you just got to be big and powerful. But you see it there. Watch from the tight. The guy's trying to stay in the B gap. Alex Bars takes his right arm and throws him into the A gap, and Josh Adams cuts right behind him. That requires a level of size and power that comes from just being big. I mean, look at that. Boom. Just takes that right hand and shoves that defensive tackle from USC inside. And then the hole opens up right behind him. 80-yard touchdown. Right? That just requires a level of, you just got to be 6'6", 320 and strong, and that's why that's when Aaron Banks could get away with certain things, where, Aaron maybe didn't have the proper technique or he didn't have the proper whatever, but he could still blow you off the line because he was 330. And that's what these guys give you something of, and that's what gets you a little bit fired up about about what they're adding in this class. And Will Black's listed at 6'7", 295. I'll be shocked if he's not at least 315, 320. Like shocked if he's not doing that when it's all said and done. But yeah, this is a big time pickup. Tackle now will be the focus moving forward. So yeah, there you go.